So Ghislaine Maxwell is telling a new story from her prison cell. And it's a story that, well, it seems to exist in a completely alternate reality. Today, we're going to break down her bizarre new interview and what it reveals about the powerful, sophisticated network that protected Jeffrey Epstein for decades.
Okay, so let's get right into it. In this really strange prison interview that's just come out, Ghislaine Maxwell paints a picture of her life with Jeffrey Epstein that just defies all logic. She told investigators that she found all the younger people he hung out with boring and fundamentally uninteresting. Which is, what a bizarre thing to say, right? Especially considering the accusations that put her behind bars in the first place.
So where does all this come from? It's from something called a proffer interview. Basically, it's a meeting where she agrees to talk, but get this, the government promised her almost nothing in return. They literally told her lawyer, "We're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything." This whole setup is so unusual, it immediately makes you wonder, why would she talk at all?
And from there, she just builds this entire alternate reality. She claims she only slept with Epstein once, way back in 1992, and that he had some supposed heart condition that prevented him from having sex. According to her, she never even spent a single night in his house, was in this super serious 7-year relationship with the founder of Gateway Computers, and was so disconnected she often had no idea where Epstein even was.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just what Maxwell says. It's the whole dynamic between her and the prosecutor. When the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch confronts her with a key fact, that she was constantly interacting with the masseuses at Epstein's properties, her response was a simple, disarming, huh.
And what happens next is just mind-blowing. Instead of pressing her on that, Blanch just completely backs down. As you can see from the transcript, he says, "Or maybe that's not right. Let me take back what I just said. Ignore that part." This pattern happened over and over, which really makes you question what the real purpose of this interview even was. Okay, so Maxwell's interview is one piece of this giant, messy puzzle. But to really get the full picture, we have to look at the powerful network that was working behind the scenes to protect Epstein for years, often in some really sophisticated ways. And one of the key figures in this whole protection racket was a guy named Al Seckel. Now, on the surface, he's this famous expert on optical illusions, hosting these fancy parties for Nobel laureates and NASA scientists. He was also, by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell's brother-in-law. Seckel's whole public persona was built around these TED Talks about how our eyes can deceive us, how reality isn't always what it seems. But behind the curtain, he was creating a totally different kind of illusion. And it was all for Jeffrey Epstein. And we know this because of emails. We have emails from 2010 where Seckel is basically bragging about being Epstein's digital fixer. He's talking about running cyber wars, manipulating Google search results, and yeah, as you can see right here, celebrating a big victory for scrubbing Epstein's Wikipedia page to remove his mugshot and all the negative info. And then, in another one of those strange twists that seem to happen all the time in the story, Seckel goes missing in 2015. His body is later found at the bottom of a cliff in France. The official ruling? Suicide. Just one of a really disturbing number of suspicious deaths connected to this whole case. So this protection network wasn't just happening online. It went all the way to the highest levels of politics, and it sparked this huge fight over transparency and whether or not to release the files on the case. There was this thing called the Epstein Transparency Act. It had support from both parties, trying to get these files released. But here's the thing. Party leadership on both sides hated it. They tried to kill the bill in committee. So a bunch of reps had to use this rare maneuver called a discharge petition to go around them and force a vote. So even with all that resistance from the top brass, once the bill was actually forced onto the floor for everyone to see for a public vote, well, the result was an absolute blowout. With everyone watching, the final count was 427 in favor to just 1 against.
Yeah, you heard that right. 427 to 1, which of course leads to the big question. Who was the one person who voted no? It was Republican Congressman Clay Higgins from Louisiana. He was the single no vote. His argument, which he put out on social media, was that releasing all these files would abandon 250 years of legal procedure and, quote, absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. So you've got this fight to keep the files secret, you've got digital cleanup crews, you've got these strange deaths. It all points to the biggest, most explosive question of all. What was Jeffrey Epstein really up to? Was he just some rich, disgraced financier, or was there something else going on? Let's look at the clues. Clue number 1, his Kindle library.
His reading tastes changed a lot over the years. He went from books on math and religion to books all about spycraft, cryogenics, and, check this out, Rise and Kill First, which is literally a history of Israel's targeted assassination programs. Okay, clue number 2. These incredibly bizarre coded notes Epstein would email to himself. They look like weird word association games. Taste, food, kissing, dreaming all day long, and then they're followed by lists of first names of some of the most powerful people on the planet. I mean, what is that? Some analysts think they could be coded logs of some kind.
And clue number 3, his emails show him neck deep in major international affairs. We're talking about the complex mechanics of Brazilian fighter jet deals, messaging people about negotiating a ceasefire in Yemen, and sending these super cryptic notes like India, Israel, key, not for email. This is way, way beyond what a normal financier does.
And all of this brings us right back to Ghislaine Maxwell in that prison interview. Because when the prosecutor asks her, straight up, have you ever had any contact with any representatives that you know from Mossad, she gives this incredibly weird, specific, and totally evasive answer. Not deliberately.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it? Back to Ghislaine Maxwell, sitting in that room, trying to rewrite history, trying to control the narrative one last time.
And in what might be the most jaw-dropping claim of all, Maxwell tries to pin the blame for the entire trafficking operation on Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers. She alleges that Giuffre, who was just a child herself when this started, was actually the one responsible for the entire ring.
Virginia, in her own memoir, wrote about the powerful men she was trafficked to. Her account included this one absolutely haunting detail, painting a picture of a level of depravity it's almost impossible to wrap your head around.
So, as we're all waiting for these Epstein files to finally be unsealed, the real question isn't just who is on the list. The real question is, are we finally going to get the truth? Or are we just going to be fed another carefully crafted illusion, designed to hide a reality that's maybe more disturbing than any of us can even imagine?